Okay, so this is a weird video to make. I'm going to put this on my second channel because I'm still writing the main version for my main channel. And it's like very scripted and very like nitty gritty. And frankly, I just keep banging my head against the wall because I go around in circles and I find these like little moments where I'm just like, I should explain that better or I should explain this thing. And I just wanted to like talk about it very vaguely and very just like overviewy and put it on the second channel because no one seems to talk about it. And frankly, like I'm a slow writer and I'm not the best writer, even when I do get something out. And just, I'd like it if people covered this topic more. I've seen it popping up like a little bit, which has prompted me to like make this video, but uh, people need to talk about this more. So the core thesis of the main channel video was Steam is a monopoly. Here's how. And, or, let's talk about Steam's monopoly. And I would dig into it. And then I started seeing like little moments where a news thing with Steam would pop up and I would make a joke like, oh, everyone's favorite monopoly at it again. Because a lot of the core of that video, and perhaps wrongly, was exploring the idea that Steam is a monopoly. They do all of these things. They are literally in lawsuits for those things. This is not a debate point. But the interesting point is that people defend them fervently, just all the time. And they will fight tooth and nail to detract away from giving Steam and by extension Valve that title of a monopoly. I understand why, because it's a bit of a gross term. You don't want to be seen as that. If you're a company, you don't want to be seen as antitrust or anti-competitive. But it was fascinating in the case for Steam and Valve because not only are they a monopoly with Steam, but they have all of these other elements, right? And I'll name them. You've got battle passes, you've got loot boxes, and you've got gambling. Now, Valve invented basically two of those things and popularized them. And whenever we see these things, ironically to this video and even to the main video, I don't mind battle passes. I don't like loot boxes, but battle passes I'm okay with. That's a whole other video. I think they had quite a lot of value if you just want to play 1 or 2 games a year, and I think for most people that's completely fine. But the interesting like middle point of that video was gamers will get so annoyed and irate and hostile when Ubisoft or EA or PlayStation or Xbox or Activision or whatever add these things into their games. But not only will they ignore when Valve does it, they get a completely free pass that they do it to the nth degree. They won't even acknowledge that. They'll acknowledge it from historical fact that Valve, sort of put these things together and put them out there. But that's about it. No one's ever like truly annoyed. And I would argue quite comfortably that Valve's underground gambling through CSGO and CSGO 2 and stuff is abhorrent. And when I was watching, it popped up the other day. I was watching a video from Digital Foundry, and the guys got asked a question specifically regarding Steam being a monopoly. And I left some comments in there. You probably see them if you go watch the video. It's on DF Clips, and it's from my main channel. And I was like astounded by people who were just like, Valve did nothing wrong. Leave Valve alone. And I watched the video, and the guys themselves were just putting out there all of this sort of, I don't know, like hammy nonsense where it was like kid gloves, like they didn't want to criticize Valve, and any sort of like genuine criticism would be like, I don't know, redirected to be like, but they make a really good store and they do this thing. It's like, they are not your friend. You don't need to be like that. And I find Valve and Steam and them, their perception in gaming culture just fascinating. And then that video, the one I was writing, stopped dead because I was reading the comments and saw these things that the guys were saying. I was like, hold up a second. Not only do people actively defend them, but people don't even acknowledge off the rip that they are a monopoly. So I don't know. I reworked the video a little bit, and I wrote a couple of things down in front of me. So you might see me look down now and again. I wrote some really scrappy notes because these are like unedited and like mostly unfiltered. So I thought I'd start with like, what is a monopoly? Because the comments of that video genuinely believe the old school version of a monopoly, which is you own 100% of the things and no other competition exists or can exist. You're a monopoly. We're going to split you up. Think of like oil companies, right, in America at the turn of the century, I think it was. And that's a monopoly. And that's true. That is a monopoly. But that doesn't mean that companies like Amazon or Valve and Steam, etc., aren't monopolies or can't have monopolistic tendencies. Because a monopoly in today's, especially a platform monopoly in today's climate, doesn't mean 100%. It can mean, as it should, a large market share where you can dictate the rest of the market. And everyone has to play ball. And importantly, you suffer zero repercussions from that. Most notably, people leaving your platform or loss of money. And Valve is like really, really interesting because they right now are in a lawsuit for MFN, most favored nation, which basically dictates that you can go to a developer and say you are not allowed to put your game on Epic Games Store for $20. And this is a little bit of a confusing point here that most people get wrong, so I'm going to explain the wrong way and then I'll explain the right way. The idea is that you have to sell that game cheaper over there, and you can't sell it for 20 over there. You have to sell it for like, what the fuck am I saying? 1 minute. I am Steam. I'm Valve. You cannot sell it on their platform for cheaper. You have to sell it on our platform for the same price, okay? You can't go over there and offer a discount that's unique to them. It has to be here. That's a bit of a confusing, like, mistelling of what that MFN is. How Valve actually do it is with Steam keys. So they don't take anything. It looks great to developers and consumers. You can say, hey, take all the Steam keys you want and sell them in humble bundles and whatever else. We don't take any percentage. And everyone goes, wow, they don't take any percentage. That's so nice of them. But what did they just give the developer? A Steam key. And this is where we get into my realm of expertise. I've been a product designer for a decade, or thereabouts. And this is when we start getting into metrics and user acquisition and user design and product design and UI and UX and psychology. And these are things I've done. I've worked in tech. I've worked on platforms. I see, and this was another problem with the core video, I see things a little bit differently because of my job and my experience. I'll give an example. When I see the Steam keys, I don't see Valve doing some consumer-friendly, dev-friendly thing. I see them as giving away 0%, right, keys, because it doesn't cost them anything. And what do they gain from that? They gain you, they gain another user, they gain another person. And they only gain two things from it. They gain new users, so it's user acquisition, right, which is you always want that for platforms. Or they get another bit of stickiness. You're already a Steam user. I've just got another game in my pile. Brilliant. And this is why I actually wrote down like a whole bunch of things regarding stickiness. And in the initial write-up of the video, I was like, everyone surely understands stickiness. We use all these products every day. Like people use Instagram and Discord and YouTube, and surely everyone knows stickiness. And it's kind of ironic that given the fact I do a lot of user behavior stuff and UX design, like I just sort of forgot that, hey, not everyone focuses on this stuff like all the time. So I give 3 really clear examples down here. I just put stickiness, games, friends, and achievements. You can probably think of others and feel free to put them in the comments. But basically, these are things that you can get on Steam and you can't take with you. So those Steam keys, for example, the reason why they're just like Steam and Valve just turning the screws a little bit more on people and the industry at large is because it's just another way to get people through the door. And then they're able to hold on to everything, right? Steam has its DRM, which is yet another thing that people complained about just last month with PlayStation and its misquoted, misinformation fueled DRM stuff. Steam's DRM never comes up. And seemingly, to the best of my knowledge, and the brief research I've done for that part of the video, the only people that don't use Steam DRM are people that are big enough to not need it or just not required. So like Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk, I think Witcher, Factorio, I think was on that list as well. There's a bunch of others. You don't have to use it. It's optional, right? Which again looks like, hey, they're giving you the option. But the option of not doing it, and this is so important to the overall theme of the Valve and Steam debacle, is that like it's an option in name only, okay? So what is the big deal? I'm going to look down at my notes. What is the big deal with stickiness? And this will lead me really nicely and close out this video probably on Epic, because Epic is the single best example to prove how Steam is. I keep going to say Valve, how Steam is a monopoly in this space. So we've got the stickiness. You've got your games, you've got your friends, you've got your achievements. You can't take those things with you, right? And some people might say, I don't care about achievements. Oh, I don't have any friends on Steam. I just buy my games. That's fine. Totally fine, totally valid. But other people do. And it reminds me, again, because I come from a very tech-orientated background, it reminds me of a really famous quote from a gentleman's name I'm forgetting. He was the growth manager at Facebook in the late 2000s, I believe. And there was a quote. It gets banded around tech and design and UX all the time. 7 friends in 10 days. And the idea was that they figured out through their millions of users that if we can get people to have 7 friends on our platform within 10 days, they will be a lifetime user. Okay. And then they give you a bunch of other different features and things, and they stick you on that platform, and that's valuable to them. You can imagine the things that Steam do in a very similar way. The best example, or one of the best examples I have for this, is their Steam sales. We joke about it all the time. Oh, I've got 1,000 games. I've played 6 of them. Oh, Steam sales came up and I bought 4 games that I'll probably never play, but hey, at least I've got them. Instead of thinking of them as games or experiences or whatever else, think of them as bricks. Every single friend, every single achievement, every single minute and hour spent, every single game, every single DLC, mod, every single moment where it's easy to do something, which is good UX design and good product design, think of it as a brick. And now we get to Epic. It's interesting to view it through the lens. Epic they have infinite cash. They have Fortnite cash. They can do whatever they want. And that's why they're the best example to prove. Lost my train of thought. To prove the monopoly that Steam has, because this is not a company that just a startup that creates a small product, puts it out, and they go, oh, we're doing this. We're doing, we do, I don't know, like we're going up against Adobe, like Figma. Figma is a piece of software I use all the time. And they did collaborative design way better than anyone else. And they grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. And they took chunks and chunks out of Adobe's market share in terms of UI and UX designers. And they took away this little slither, and now UX designers and UI designers just don't even care about Adobe anymore. They use Figma and then some other tools around that. Epic can't do that, nor do they need to do that necessarily, because they have infinite cash and they can throw and pull every lever they want. They can throw any missile they want at that brick wall that you've just built up. And it doesn't actually make a blind bit of difference when it comes to Steam. And that's what I was describing at the very, very start. When you can change things and do things that are unfavorable to consumers or developers or competition and receive 0 repercussions, that's a monopoly. And when we look at something like the Epic Games Store, we have them throwing billions of dollars. People always joke about, oh, they offer free games. It's the place where you get free games. The reason they're doing that is the ghost town effect. If you're old like me, you'll remember Google Plus, and Google recognized this immediately, right? No one wants to go to a new space and have no friends there, or no product incentive, or no features. No one wants to do that, because what happens is, I speak from experience, people bounce off straight away and they go somewhere else. It's the reason you're not going to leave Discord for a long time unless anything catastrophic happens. You're going to stick around because you don't want to combat that stickiness. You don't want to go to Discord 2 and re-add all your friends or do something. This is why, really simply, and this is such a niche example, in the UK, if you change banks, there's a system where you can basically work with the bank a few clicks of a button, and they are incentivized to go and work with the other bank that you're a part of, and they will move over all of your payments, and they will do everything manually if need be. And that's like such a niche example, actually, isn't it? But it's a way where banks can remove that stickiness and be like, oh, okay, I'll move over to the other bank then, because they want you as a customer, because you'll stick around for a long time. So what else is Epic doing to try and throw missiles at a wall to break it down, to try and drag some people over? They're giving you tons of free games, right? They're spending millions and millions and millions. They took the console route of exclusivity a little bit, right? They didn't go to Remedy with Alan Wake 2 and said, guys, we loved Alan Wake 1. We know you're working on Control and the sequels Control and the Max Payne sequels. please, 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 just out of the goodness, please just make an Alan Wake sequel. We'll foot the bill for everything. Please make it. And yeah, if you could, we'll just put it on our store as exclusive as like a thank you. And they just said yes and hugged and kissed and made up and released it there for free. No, it was user acquisition. It was them using their infinite war chest of money to say, Alan Wake 2 is a prestige title. People will download Epic Games, and that will get people in the door. And then we'll also give them a bunch of other free games that will build out their library, and then they'll start adding friends, and slowly but surely you start getting those things in. And at some point, over time, you're like, oh, maybe I will play. And this is what, BlizzNet did, right, for a while, and did it very well. Oh, I want to play StarCraft? Oh, of course I'll go and jump on that to play with my friend there. But then you had the problem of it's not an expansive place. It's just their games. They weren't necessarily selling other stuff there until Activision bought them and whatnot. So you get all of these moments where you start seeing how Steam absolutely is a monopoly. I think there's maybe the best example. I think people will bring this example up in the future is, and this also feeds fully, like full circle, what I was saying at the start when people hate on companies for doing a thing, and then Valve does it worse, but they don't have a problem with it. Apple was dragged, and I think still dragged, through courts for its 30% charge, right? If you sell something for $10 on the App Store, or you have a free app, but the subscription for it is $10 a month, every single month, Apple will take $3 from that subscription out of the 10. And people hated this. Big companies made a big song and dance about it. And then news outlets picked it up, and because they just want clicks, Apple's a big name, and them going through the courts is a big deal. They didn't ever bother to look at the details, but you don't need to do that. Actually, if you're a small developer, you can spend 15%, and that's fine. You can do that up to like $1 million or something. Like, it's a lot of money. It's a life-changing amount of money before you start paying 30%. Now, in reverse of that, I recorded a version of this video before. I hope I'm not repeating myself. If I am, I apologize, but it's a nice reminder for us all. Now, in reverse, this is really interesting because Valve also do it for 30%, but it gets worse. Okay? It's worse because you pay 30% at the start, not 15%. Apple goes from 15 to 30. Valve goes from 30 to 15 the more successful you are. Now, who becomes more successful? Sure, you get some niche titles, right? Niche indie game like Balatro does nuts, right? And you're getting taxed. You're getting the Steam tax less. But a lot of the people benefiting from that are bigger games and bigger titles, not indie creators or smaller teams. So I guess to close out this video, Steam is a monopoly. I think I've made that point pretty clearly. And all of their stuff that's going through the courts right now, I'm pretty sure it's going to come up where they change some internal policy, but also like there's a whole other video worth, but like because of Gabe Newell's background in Microsoft, he has this aura of like, oh, I don't want bureaucracy at the company and whatnot. But if you read testimonies and statements from people that have worked there for a number of years, like it's not always a great place to work. It's actually quite cold and calculated, and you get these like hive mind moments that bubble up over time. So they're a monopoly. They will change things based on it, and you should want competition. I know that sounds silly, but you should want competition in these spaces. The fact that, Epic can offer, I didn't give this example, Epic can offer 12% to developers instead. That's why it came up. That's why I might have been repeating myself. God damn it. They offered 12% as another thing to hit against that brick wall. Hey, developers, you're paying 30%, we'll do 12%. Okay? And the problem then is market share and scale. Because if you go and you put your game there, what's the point? You do this extra effort potentially, and it's got 5% of the market, I think Epic Games have. And if it is true that Steam are not through policy, but just through like social, like engineering and things like that, in like having these like, oh God, I'm forgetting the thing. Basically making people not put their games elsewhere and making it uninteresting. You're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. Hey, you don't put your game on Steam, you're not going to reach the biggest market. If you do want to abide by our rules and regulations and everything else, you'll put your game here. And that's a monopoly. So yeah, this hasn't been too bad. I'm sorry this was 20 minutes. This is uncut, obviously, but man, feels nice just to talk about something, I'll be honest. Feels pretty good. Scripting videos is really, really hard. At least it's hard for me, so I'm gonna go finish my work. I hope you guys have a good day. Subscribe to this channel, I guess, and then subscribe to the main channel. And hey, cat. She also thinks Steam is a monopoly.